were talking about doing research on what platforms people of color, Black people, we were talking about Black people, have the most success on completing a raise. Would it be, going to the traditional venture? Would it be angel groups? Or would it be crowdfunding? And we think crowdfunding is probably best for people of color. A lot of our friends that have done crowdfunding have been extraordinarily successful. The flip side of that, sometimes going to these exclusive angel groups or talking to a venture fund, and you're like, yeah, my buddy doesn't want to pitch to you. He's going to crowdfund or she's going to crowdfund, and they're like, oh, don't do that. It's a scarlet letter, and you're like, really? Well, I don't think so. He hasn't had luck talking to you guys, but now he has an opportunity to raise. You're like, it's a scarlet letter.
It is.
What's your thought on that?
It is because they're threatened by it. They're threatened by the fact that we don't need them anymore. They're threatened by that now we can raise millions of dollars, 50 million in a Reg A plus, now about to be 5 million in a Reg CF. We don't have to be a part of their system. And I'm going to tell you the truth. They don't understand it at all. I did a talk recently with Silicon Valley Bank, and it was a big person at Silicon Valley Bank. They did not understand crowdfunding. I have conversations with VCs on a regular basis. They have no comprehension. They don't even take the time to read about it and understand about it. They'll make assumptions that since I have 4,800 investors, I have 4,800 lines on my cap table. I don't. I have 2 lines on my cap table, each for the separate crowdfunding syndicate. They're very threatened by us having our own power and control. They're extremely threatened by, the laws being changed to where the wealthy is not in control of all the wealth. They're very, very threatened. So yes, a scarlet letter, because they want to discourage us from taking our own life and our own future and our generational wealth into our own hands. They don't want us to do that. So when they told me in my face that if you crowdfund, I'll never invest in you again, I said, well, bye, shit. I don't need your money. I said, bye.
I wish we all had the balls and gusto enough to do that ourselves.
We all must have the balls and the gusto to do whatever it takes to grow our business and move it forward, whether it's go out and raise $50 million on VC or go out and raise crowdfunding, whatever our path is. Some people who are in Silicon Valley or went to Stanford or have these relationships, they can easily raise VC capital. But for me, I'm based in Columbus, Ohio. I have a long career. I have a very supportive base of people across the world. I'm tapping into that. So it's also being self-aware. It's not for everyone, but I think eventually it will be for everyone as the public becomes more confident and more educated in this as a tool to get in on early stage deals. I mean, just one more statistic or one more thing I want to share. We have been left out of deals forever, okay, since slavery and Jim Crow and everything. We've been left out of deals because of proximity to opportunities. We weren't close enough to get in on the big, even if we were legally allowed to invest as Black people prior to 1933, they didn't tell us about it. They were going to go say, oh, hey, Black man, this is 1920s and 30s. We have a big opportunity for JP Morgan Chase or whatever. They're not telling us. Then in 1933, they passed a securities law where you have to be an accredited investor to invest in early stage deals. So since 1933, we have not been able to get in on early stage deals unless you already have $1 million net worth. However, since then, they do everything in their power to prevent us from having $1 million net worth. So how are we ever going to create wealth if we didn't have access to these deals? So people don't understand how the shift of wealth is occurring. And I could go on and on as a way that I think that it's
I think everyone wants to hear you. You can speak as long as you want.
Okay. It's so important for us to do this because right when we're starting to get some economic power, here comes COVID and the lockdown. And I heard yesterday that 50,000 minority businesses have closed down permanently. And so we have to come together as a community and fund our businesses. They talked about how everything under the New Deal and yes, Reconstruction is being dismantled in front of our eyes. And so it's so important now more than ever for us to come in and fund our businesses ourselves with whatever we have left, because let this COVID thing ride out. It's going to be way more way more economic impact for our communities. Meanwhile, the trillionaires, the billionaires are getting to be trillionaires right now. As they say, billionaires are made in a recession. It's not us, but it can be us. It can be us. So.